ZecharYah, chapter 7. Remember, ZecharYah means whom Yahweh remembers. So, verse 1. And in the 4th year of sovereign Dariawesh, it came to be that the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah on the 4th of the 9th month, Kislev. On the 4th of the 9th month, that is called Kislev or Kislev, depending on who may say it. So, Kislev. So, on the 4th of the 9th month. All right, so then he says, and just in case, because of the difference between what I read and what you may have seen, this translation writes new moon. However, as you can see, the word moon is not really there in the original Hebrew. It only has the word chodesh, which comes from chadash, which is new. So it refers to the new energy that comes with the month. So the month in Hebrew has a connection with new, which is chadash. And since after Babylon and the Greek Empire, the Jewish people began to use a lunar calendar, then they decided to translate this as new moon. But that's why I just read the 9th month. So I'll continue. And in the 4th year of sovereign Dariawesh, it came to be that the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah on the 4th of the 9th month, Kislev. Now, Bethel had sent Sharetzer. Here, Bethel, right, is Bethel. Bethel means the house of the mighty one. That is the place where Jacob saw the ladder going up to the heavens and the entrance to heaven. So now Bethel had sent Sharetzer with Regen Melech and his men to pray before Yahweh, speaking to the priest who belonged to the house of Yahweh of hosts, and to the prophet, saying, should I weep in the 5th new month and fast, as I have done for so many years? Now, Bethel had sent Sharetzer with Regen Melech and his men to pray before Yahweh, speaking to the priest who belonged to the house of Yahweh of hosts, and to the prophets, saying, should I weep in the 5th month and fast, as I have done for so many years? Then the word of Yahweh of hosts came to me, saying, speak to all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when you fasted and lamented in the 5th and 7th month, all these 70 years, did you truly fast for me? For me? So this is an important question, because that keeps going on in almost all religions, mainly Christian, of course, in this case, where they fast, where they claim to be sad, or even some cry, but being just led by emotions and thinking that the Almighty just wants that, when in reality is to really, really seek his presence. So, and to do things for him and for his pleasure, not for our own pleasure, or being accepted by the people, or being seen by the people as very pure, very set apart, very as they say, saint. So, like Yahushua explained, when people would fast, they would fast to pretty much let everyone know that they were fasting, so that everybody would think that they were set apart, that they were so pure and so special, so close to the Most High. So here we see that it says, speak to all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when you fasted and lamented in the 5th and 7th months, all these 70 years, did you truly fast for me? For me? So that is a rhetorical question, and actually means that they didn't. All those 70 years in exile in Babylon, which represent the 70 jubilees from the time when we entered the promised land till now, because there would be 70 jubilee years, or 70 jubilees from the time that we enter the promised land till the end of times, just like there would be 40 from the time of Mashiach going up to the right hand of the Father to our time. And just like there will be 120 jubilees from Adam till the end of times. So here we have that it mentions the 70 years in Babylon, which also connects with the 70 weeks mentioned in Daniel 9. So once again, I read it. Speak to all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when you fasted and lamented in the 5th and 7th month, all these 70 years, all this time that you have been claiming to be a believer, like when we were in Christianity, for instance, and then our parents and our grandparents, etc., etc. Sadly, because of the falsehood in the world, a lot of people just are playing a role. They are just acting in a certain way before society so that they are accepted and so that they get what they want. And that is pretty much most people. So the same with religion. In religion, a lot of people just go on Sunday to church and that's it. They say that that counts. I did it. Now I'm a better person. So uh, I'll go back to society. So it says these 70 years, like I said, just like the 70 jubilees, or even just the apostasy since Mashiach left. Did you truly fast for me? For me? And when you ate and when you drank, was it not for those eating and for those drinking? And when you ate and when you drank, was it not for those eating and for those drinking? So anything that they did, even if they were claiming to do it for the Almighty or for whoever, they were doing it for themselves, for their own pleasure in one way or another, because they were getting something out of it, etc. When they fasted and when they ate, which is also interesting here to see how Mashiach is mentioning, Yahweh is mentioning, they came to ask for a fast. What about the fast of that month? Should we do it? Should we not do it? And Yahweh's telling them, why does that matter? When you do it, you don't do it for me. When you eat, you don't do it for me either. So you eat for yourselves, for your stomach. You don't eat to praise Yahweh because you know how He is the one giving you the food, because He is giving you the ability to taste it, because He is giving you the ability to process everything and give you life, etc. So Yahweh is pretty much saying, so what? Why does it matter if you do it or don't do it? Why do you even ask? Right? So, and then it says, and when you ate and when you drank, was it not for those eating and for those drinking? Are these not the words which Yahweh proclaimed through the former prophets when Jerusalem and the cities around it were inhabited and in safety, and the south and the low country were inhabited? And the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah, saying, thus said Yahweh of hosts, execute true right ruling, show loving commitment and compassion everyone to his brother. So Yahweh is pretty much making a statement regarding what the true belief is, what our true emunah is. It's a way to think and to act, to live, really, instead of just a what they would call religion, what they a routine, a ritual. Exactly. They in this case, they were like, okay, if I fast, I'm going to be better. If I don't, I may not. If I fast, I'm going to be hurt. No, it's not about if you eat or you don't eat. That's why we have also spoken about the true fast, the spiritual fast, and the spiritual Shabbat, because the same happens with the Shabbat when it comes to the 24-hour day. They separated and almost end up worshiping the day when Mashiach said the Shabbat was made for the Son of Man and not the Son of Man for the Shabbat. So the Son of Man rules over the Shabbat. So here, Yahweh is telling, once again, I repeat, they coming to ask for a fast, and Yahweh is telling them, when you fast, you don't fast for me. When you eat, you don't eat for me. And that's not even the point of following me. This is the point of following Yahweh. Execute true right ruling. Show loving commitment and compassion, everyone, to his brother. Show loving commitment and compassion, everyone, to his brother. A lot of people lack compassion, also commitment. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the stranger or the poor, and do not plot evil in your hearts against one another. Remember that in the book of Jacob 1:27, we read about the true religion. And other than loving your neighbor as yourself, speaks about taking care of the widows and the fatherless, orphans. So do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the stranger or the poor, and do not plot evil in your hearts against one another. But they refused to listen. Just a second, I wanted to see something from the Hebrew here, verse 9, when Yahweh is telling us what we should do instead of thinking about doing a full fast. Here's right ruling, which is mishpat emet. Emet is truth. Mishpat, judgment. It says shpatu, that is the same root of judgment. Shafat. Then bechesed, which is the favor or loving kindness. Berachamim, which what is normally translated as mercy. Do every man to his brother. So execute true ruling, show loving commitment and compassion, everyone, to his brother. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the stranger or the poor, and do not plot evil in your hearts against one another. But they refused to listen, and they shrugged their shoulders and stopped their ears from hearing. And they made their hearts like flint against hearing the Torah. And they made their hearts like flint against hearing the Torah and the words which Yahweh of hosts had sent by his spirit through the former prophets. Therefore, great wrath came from Yahweh of hosts. Repeat. And they made their hearts like flint against hearing the Torah and the words which Yahweh of hosts had sent by his spirit through the former prophets. Therefore, great wrath came from Yahweh of hosts. And it came to be as he called, and they did not hear. This is important. And it fits our time. Well, it fits all time in history, really. But obviously, the closer we get to the end, everything fits even more than ever. And because, as we know, many are called, but few are chosen. The two witnesses appear in the first 3.5 years of the last 7 of the week of Daniel, the last week of Daniel. And they preach for 3.5 years, which is pretty much the calling to everyone in the world. Obviously, mainly those who claim to believe in the Most High and the fact that he sent his son. So, or in the Most High and a Messiah, because even those who have not accepted the Messiah, obviously, could be called to accept the Messiah now. So, and he says, and it came to be as he called, and they did not hear. Sadly, That's why few are chosen. And it came to be as he called and they did not hear, so let them call, but I shall not hear, said Yahweh of hosts. That is huge and very sad, because Yahweh is saying, I have been calling and calling and calling and no one answers. Now when you call, I won't answer. So there will be a time when people will realize that they need to call on the Almighty, and that time will be too late. For instance, after the death of the two witnesses, the door of mercy will be closed, and that's when the only way to be justified and to be able to enter the kingdom of Yahweh through resurrection would be resurrection, meaning having to die first. And I say that because Yahweh is giving the opportunity in these end times for a few to be able to go to eternity without experiencing death, right? That's why many are called, but few are chosen. Those few are chosen to go to eternity without experiencing death in this body. So then, after they are taken during the harvest, that is when the angel says, happy or blessed are those who die in the sovereign, in Mashiach, after this point. And that is after the first 3.5 years. The two witnesses depart, the chosen few are taken, and then they are going to force everybody to get the mark of the beast. Those who don't get it will be killed, and that will be the hardest decision, I guess, for most of those who claim to believe when they get to that point, because that is when they will call and no one will hear. Because even, and there are verses where it says, Yahweh says that even when they call on his name, he won't answer, because they haven't been calling on his name. Like Mashiach said, you haven't asked anything in my name, ask and you will receive. So once everything happens, the door will be closed and it will be too late, even for those who now will call. Obviously, I repeat, if they give their lives by not accepting the mark, then Yahweh will resurrect them. So in a way, Yahweh will answer, but he won't save them from that great tribulation that is coming, because from a certain point on, it will be too late. Before the death of the two witnesses, if they call on Yahweh, he will answer, because that's the point. He's calling. If you answer, then you have a communication, a conversation. But if he calls 3.5 years, like he has done for almost 6,000 years, and people don't answer, once he takes away the two witnesses, would be like taking away the connection, taking away the phone, and then he won't answer. Even when they realize, oh, so it was true. His name is Yahweh, and his name and the name of his son is Yahushua. Oh, it was true what they were saying. It was true what the scripture said. So let's call on that name. That time will be too late. I hope that's clear, because I do believe it's important, but I wanted to explain it very well so that no one can say that Yahweh is being unjust, right? So when it came to be as he called and they did not hear, so let them call, but I shall not hear, said Yahweh of hosts. And I scattered them with a storm wind among all the nations which they had not known, which that's where we are at now. And the land was laid waste behind them, no one passing through or returning, for they made the pleasant land a waste. And sadly, Israel still, in a way, a waste, sadly. They are working on it a lot to make it a little bit better, to improve certain things, but sadly, because of the sin of the people, Yahweh needs to redo it pretty much. And not just that, the way they treat waste over there is very sad. Like when I had the pleasure to be there, there were many houses where that you could see, like when you go on the road, you could see the back of certain houses, and they pretty much just would throw the garbage like on the back of it. So it was very sad. I'm not saying that 100% of the place was like that, but we saw a lot of that. and it was very sad. A lot of waste on the mountains. All right, so this is how this chapter ends. And like I said, well, it's pretty clear cut. They are coming to ask about a fast, right? And the way the answer came about, I would think I kind of can imagine their attitude when asking about it. Um, in the sense that those people who think that, like, that fake humility, right? Like when people think that they are very, very set apart and pure, but it's just an act. And Yahweh spoke like straight up, no, what you need to do is be better people. uh Act better, do better things, and have better judgment, and love your neighbor, and don't treat the widow in a bad way, and um neither the fatherless, etc. But still, thousands of years later, still after all of this is written, people still act the same way, still are asking for the same things, asking the same questions that have been answered already. Um, so yeah, quite sad.